Hello and welcome to Sounding Board, a community access television production of Soroptimist International of Novato. My name is Madeline Peters, and my guest today is this lovely woman, Cloe Grechis, who is a high school student here, and I'll have her tell a little bit about herself in a moment. But first, a message about Soroptimist. The mission of Soroptimist International, which is a global organization, is improving the lives of women and girls through programs leading to social and economic empowerment. So, Cloe, thank you very much for taking time to be here. You are an award winner for our club. Soroptimist International of Novato selected you as the award winner for the Violet Richardson Award. Not only are you the club award winner, you've also won at the district level as well. So you must have a very interesting story to tell. The Violet Richardson Award is to support and acknowledge young girls who are very active in the community through volunteer work. But enough about me. It's time for us to learn more about Cloe and who Cloe is. So could you please introduce yourself a little bit more, a little background, and then we'll just have a conversation about your high school path, and I understand you have a college path too.
Yeah, so my name is Cloe. I'm a senior at Novato High, and I've been volunteering at the Center for Domestic Peace for the past 3 years. So I've done a lot of volunteer work as part of a youth organization that goes into high schools to educate teens and my peers on healthy relationships and what teen dating violence is.
Can you go into a little bit more of detail? Because that's a huge problem. I know since our program is involved in working with other Soroptimist clubs and looking at violence related to relationship issues and the vulnerability of women and young girls, both locally and internationally. So how did you get started? How did you select this organization?
Well, a friend of mine actually was in it before I was, and so she had been telling me about it, and I've seen this as an issue that has affected a lot of people, both at my high school and just teens in general, so I wanted to get involved. And
so just you in your role as a student could see these issues emerging in your school. What was it what was apparent to you then?
I think it's just the way that teens interact with each other, and especially we find that gender roles plays a lot into this, so we can just see a lot of mistreatment, I guess.
Just happening just by being a student at a high school.
Yeah.
And so you were able to recognize that there was something not right about this, and you had to contact someone who introduced you to this organization.
Yes.
But then it was your initiative to say, well, this is what I want to do. So can you explain then, you labeled what you did, but can you go into a little bit more detail?
Yeah. So when I started with this group, the group was only a year old, so we didn't really have like a mission statement or plans about what we wanted to do. But what we've been doing for the past 3 years is going into different classrooms in various high schools to educate teens about unhealthy relationships. We go over gender roles and the pattern of abuse, because we found that a lot of abusers have seen abuse in their home life and with their parents and others around them. So trying to bring awareness to the issue among our peers who may not see it as big of a deal as it really is.
So you bring up the whole thing about, you were able to see something that was dysfunctional, abusive, just in terms of you're observing students in your school, your peers, and then connecting to the organization. What you did mention is that cycle of abuse, and that there's a lot of documentation on that, that cycles of abuse, cycles of poverty, cycles of domestic violence are perpetuated generation to generation. So the work that you're doing is very, very important in breaking that cycle. You have an understanding. You were able to see this happening and took some steps then to kind of educate yourself and then go back into the schools. And you said several high schools. So is it more than your own high school where you're doing this work?
It is, because the group that I'm in at the Center for Domestic Peace is made up of teens from all around Marin County. So I think right now we have 6 or 7 high schools represented by the members in our group. So we go into all of those high schools.
So then can you speak to a little bit about what that looks like? I'm curious about what you do, what you say, and also how you engage and involve your peers to kind of really take a serious look at this issue, and not just kind of toss it off and say, oh, it's another commercial, and then get on with my life and my way of interacting with others as I've done.
So we try to introduce this topic to the freshmen at our school. We go into the health classes to talk to them about this. And then we also do events every February, because February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So we also do events during that month. We do tabling and put up posters and announcements over the PA system at our school to try to bring more awareness to the issue. And then we also do workshops in junior and senior psychology classes. So what we're really trying to do is not just talk to the people at our school one time about this issue, but bring it back through the course of their 4 years there. So hopefully we can see some change in our schools.
What happens when you're in the class? What does that look like and you're doing your presentation?
All right.
How'd you all figure that out?
So we go in for usually a period is 50 minutes. We talk about various topics such as the warning signs of abuse, what the different types of abuse are, because we've seen that it's not just physical. So we want to bring that to people's awareness. We talk about the pattern of abuse and gender roles. We have an interactive game that we play with the students where they act like they're in like a relationship scenario and have to decide what they would do when different things happen. We try to make it as interactive as possible, so really trying to bring the students' ideas out.
So it's not just going in and giving people information. You're really, it's obviously there's a certain amount of information. You create a setting there, but then you want student engagement because you're trying to get them to really think deeply about this.
Yeah, we are.
And so, how long has the Center for Domestic Peace been involved in doing this, working in the high schools, the way you've described?
So this group has only actually been in existence for 4 years. So the Center for Domestic Peace has a hotline for youth, and they do have like youth support, but it's really only if someone who's in an abusive relationship decides to contact them. So this group has only been going for 4 years, and this is really about trying to have us go to our peers and really educate.
Do you have any idea of the effect? Do people, what are your observations? Obviously, you're very astute. If you saw this happening, did you see this happening in your freshman year of high school?
I don't think maybe I did, but I don't think I noticed it as much until more like my sophomore year.
Your sophomore year. So that's very sophisticated to have that kind of sense of what's going on, but then also have the courage to take that next step and try to get involved in changing the dynamics around your peers and their interactions and awareness around healthy relationships. So that's quite a lot. So, what have you seen, or what else have you picked up? You're sort of the ethnographer going through school, because here's what you do in terms of the activities with these students, but then you're also there observing interactions too. What do you see?
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that, like, as the years go by with my class in particular, the senior class, that a lot of the conversations have changed as to how people are like responding to each other when someone says something that maybe isn't quite okay with everyone, or perpetuates like gender stereotypes. I've noticed a lot of people are speaking up more about that, which is kind of cool, I thought.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So you're getting, people are finding their own voice and not just kind of accepting it, but saying something.
Yeah.
Sort of
Yeah.
taking a stand. No, that's not okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to continue that. So you've been able to see that. Well, have you had a chance to write any papers, or I mean, this is really substantial, because you're there. You saw something going on. You went out. You got the training. You're coming back. You're really working with your peers to change that, and you have some at least anecdotal data.
Yeah.
It's working.
Yeah.
It's working.
And
So can you talk about that? That's pretty empowering.
Yeah, well, we actually have data too that shows that we've brought awareness to our school. Every year we do a survey to the schools that we've reached out to and done events with. And we have really positive responses throughout the years that more and more awareness is being brought to this issue, and people are targeting our group as a resource for them.
So you're getting busier and busier, is that it?
That's pretty much it.
Are you recruiting other people to come work with you?
We are, yeah. When the group started, there were only 5 of us. Now there's almost, I think there's around 15.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
so we're trying to get more underclassmen too, because a lot of us are graduating and moving out, and so we won't be involved with the group next year.
I'd like to ask you another kind of question now. You've talked very well about your awareness, stepping into high school, looking at what was going on, and then your sophomore year, looking for a way to kind of make some change, and then actually being an agent of change, and now kind of reflecting on the changes that you see, not only in your high school, but the data that you've received from other high schools too. When you think about where you were as a freshman and where you are now, what comes to mind?
I think I'm more of a leader than I was freshman year, definitely. I think this has given me like a voice and a way to like speak out about what I believe in. So yeah, I definitely think that I'm much more confident, more of a leader than I was my freshman year.
Do you have any sense of the impact that you have? I mean, maybe I should say it, you have obviously had an impact, not only on your school, but, you are an award winner for the Violet Richardson Award, which is recognizing your work. Do you have any sense of the extent of your leadership that you display? The power of it?
What do you mean?
Well, just like this is really, it's not just I did a good job and it's working.
Yeah.
It's much, to me, just in reflecting on what you've said, it's much bigger than that. You're a senior in high school. You've had this experience. You articulate your story very well. You've gone in and you say you're a leader. You're not just a leader for your high school or the Center for Domestic Peace. You have the opportunity now, and because you've received some recognition for your success too, for stepping into maybe a bigger leadership role too. Which would bring me to I'd like to turn the corner of this conversation. Since you are a senior, this is, you're almost ready to graduate. What are your next steps?
Well, I'm going to go to UC Berkeley next year. I'm not sure exactly what I want to study, but I know something to do with education, possibly psychology. And I definitely, while I won't be part of this group anymore after this year, I definitely want to continue being involved in my community, especially with issues about gender and gender-based violence.
You can go on in that. That could be your whole field of study
It could,
at
yeah.
many levels.
Yeah.
Is there anything more, anything that you want to highlight in terms of the impact on you, the impact on other people who are part of this with you, or just some other things that maybe we haven't talked about?
Um,
Do you still have a relationship with the person who brought you into?
yes, I do. We're still very good friends.
And is this other person still involved in this work as well?
Yeah.
So it's become, to me, with just hearing that, it's become a lot more solid perhaps. Okay.
It definitely has.
Does this spill out beyond high school too? Is your involvement particularly in the high schools, or is it other aspects of the community as well?
It's mainly in the high schools. Actually, this year specifically, we've been trying to come up with ways that we can reach the greater community. So we've talked about like going in and talking to younger children, maybe not about as such serious topics, but we know that this cycle of abuse is learned from a very young age. So we've talked about involving younger children. We've talked about going out to the greater community, reaching different communities, maybe like Latino community, LGBT, because we've focused on a very narrow portion of this problem.
So what you've done, okay, now to me I'm seeing, okay, you started off talking about your experience and how it grew, but it's like, for me, just in hearing you tell your story, it's definitely been developed and highlighted within the framework of your high school experience. But to me, you're also making the connection now to the broader community.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. We live in a well-educated area, affluent area, but there are still issues of domestic violence. There's issues, very serious issues, that we have to face, the whole gender roles, gender discrimination, child abduction, domestic violence, abuse of women. So, you know, it's what you've touched on here. It's a problem that you see, but it's in a larger context. And your interest in breaking that cycle of violence within your context is important, but it has a ripple effect to other aspects, not just into the high school community, but the community at large.
Definitely.
Well, then, can you speak a little bit about what's it been like now that you're the award winner for our Soroptimist International Club, the Violet Richardson Award, both at the club level and at the district level? And what are your thoughts on that? What has that done for you?
I think it's just really highlighted like what an impact my work has done and can do. Being recognized for the work that I'm doing, it definitely like gives me a sense of pride and leadership in what I'm doing.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm really thrilled to have you here and be able to have you tell your story. Do you have any siblings that are kind of watching you? And
I do have a younger sister.
okay, so what is her take on her big sister who's involved in all of this?
Oh, she thinks it's really cool. She actually talked about maybe joining the group because she'll be starting high school next year. I'll be leaving high school, so she talked about maybe joining the group.
Uh-huh.
When I leave.
Yeah, so it's interesting, you know, it looks like you're spreading what you've learned within the context of your own family.
Yeah.
And, you know, where it looks like now you have your younger sister who's interested in engaging and taking a stand and educating others and creating a positive impact on the community. And I can't even imagine how many other girls are looking around watching you and going, you know, maybe I can do that if Chloe did this as well. So you have an influence probably beyond what you even think. You have an impact, so your leadership skills do show. In terms of, like, we've talked about an awful lot, you know, what are some things that you want to highlight when you think back, just in the discussion that we've had since we sat down together, that you'd like to emphasize for our viewing audience about this whole experience?
Let's see. I would say that being like involved in the community, it definitely affects more people than you even think, and it can be like a really empowering and inspiring thing, not only for you but also for everyone, you know, that witnesses it. Definitely.
Right. So you're not just working here and with a small impact, you actually have a large impact.
Yeah.
Okay, well, from my perspective, listening to you tell the story, I really want to emphasize that I see leadership in you, and very articulate in terms of, and thoughtful and reflective in terms of what you see around you, and being puzzled or troubled by things, and then taking the initiative to do something about it, get your training and come back and be an agent of change. So I'm sure that's what came forth in your application for this award, and I want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
Well, Chloe, I know you're very busy, and I want to thank you very much for being here and taking the time for us to showcase you on our program. And I want to applaud you and encourage you to continue your work. And I'm sure that your story will gain even more depth and breadth as you take your next step into higher education. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
This is Sounding Board, a community access television production of Soroptimist International of Novato. My guest today is Cloe Grechis, who is the Violet Richardson Award winner for community service that we offer to high school students who are engaged in important work within our community. I'd like to thank the Soroptimist crew who makes all of this happen, and that's Freda Kaplan, certainly Vicki Campbell, who was instrumental in bringing Chloe to us today so that we can give her a chance to tell her story, and then to our studio engineer, Leon Johnson, but also to the Buck Institute Research on Aging, who very generously provides us with access to their television studio so that we can record our programs. My name is Madeline Peters. I'm with Soroptimist International of Novato. Thank you very much.